Vicki here. So today I am planting myself a couple of little planters. In this one I'm putting mint, putting four different varieties. I figured they can battle it out with each other. Um, I like mint. I use it a lot in teas. Um, so that's what this one is for. Got some other herbs for that one, and then some flowers that I'm going to repot. So let's get to it. This one is peppermint. I'm gonna just put this here so I remember who I put in what corner. This one is spearmint. This one is a chocolate mint. And this one's just a mint from the grocery store. So I had a grocery store mint that I had been growing, and then I killed it. So that's, and honestly, to its credit, it isn't dead. It's just mostly dead. So I got a new one. Um, it started off with um, I over harvested it. That's kind of how the trouble began. But that's that. And then over here, we've got some oregano, and I'm gonna put that rosemary in this. I had tried to start oregano from seed, but they did not. Um, they did not survive. Almost, almost made it. Okay.
Future Vicky here. This is Greek oregano, is what this is. Then this one is also Greek oregano. which could mean that this is Italian oregano. And this is $2 grocery store rosemary. Now, I think long term this will take over this whole pot, but for now I'm going to put it in the corner.
All right, done. All right, so over here we're going to work on up potting some of these flowers that are living there. Also, that is lemon balm, and I don't know enough about it, but it feels like it's probably similar to the mint and it would overtake. So I have a separate container for it.
Future Vicky again. Um, Maybe at some point I will learn not to cut my face out of all of these videos. But camera angles aside, I am hopeful that one day in the, not too distant future, maybe just in the next few years, I can get a little potting shed or something back here because it's a little too messy for the dining table, right? But also, kneeling on the concrete isn't super fun. So, yeah, perhaps my future plant aspirations will go a little bit better with that. But what I am up potting here, and these are not these plants' final pots, but it is some zinnias and cosmos and a single nasturtium that my kids and I started from seed a few weeks ago. Once this tray was kind of available for use, and then also sage, purple basil, and lemon basil. I restarted those after the first round of those seeds did not make it. And I'm happy to report that at least so far these seem to be doing well. We'll see how they handle being transplanted and kind of left outside because I'm pretty much shutting down my indoor seed starting shelf. So um, it is time for these little seedlings to find homes out in the world. And once they outgrow these pots that I'm putting them in today, I will plant them either into the ground around the beds, or into the beds. The flowers I don't plan on using up raised bed space for. So they're gonna kind of make it or break it on their own out in the native soil. But anywho, that's what I've got going on here, and yeah, maybe one day I can get some potting area that is not just the ground. So I probably could have thinned these, and just planted the whole little pod. Um, but my garden desperately needs more flowers in it. And so I thought that, where we had, 4 or 5 zinnias in one little cubicle, it'd just be better to spend the time to tease them apart and plant them separately and see how it goes, as opposed to planting the whole pod and then, you know, cutting 4 or 3 of them, so that the one will do well. I always overplant seeds and then thin them out, at least so far. I suppose that might not age well. We'll see. But I often will thin them out. I just, at this moment, am in dire need of more flowers. I don't have enough, I think, with the marigolds alone to attract the pollinators that I will need for later in the season. And I'm not opposed to hand pollinating, squash and zucchini and the watermelons and cucumbers. But because of the terrain in the backyard, A, with the current and ongoing water issue, and B, with the steepness of the slope, it is challenging to really maneuver very well. So it will be better if the bees will do it for me? So that's kind of where we are. So this is the lone nasturtium. I planted maybe 8 seeds or so, and this is the only one that sprouted. Now I did take to heart the seed packets recommendation to use a nail file on the seed to help with germination. I might have taken that a little too far. But that's that. This one is a teeny tiny zinnia, I believe. Yes, that's what that is. And they don't have secondary leaves yet, so I'm just hopeful they'll be all right. As of now, they've been out for a day and a half, and they still look the same. So I find that encouraging. Now, it did rain almost all day today, so yeah, I'm sure that helped. So this, I decided to put 2 lemon basil in this one pot. It's not its final home, and I thought there was plenty of space for them. If they start, getting way big and outgrow this rapidly, then I can just plant them in the garden rapidly. But I don't foresee that happening. I think it'll take them some time to really flourish beyond what this little container will provide. Single zinnia going in this one. I think only 2 or 3 of my little cubbies of zinnias sprouted, but they each sprouted like 4 or 5 plants. So I did give one of the little cubbies, one of the little clusters to my mother-in-law, and then I wanted to plant the rest out in my garden. So in these larger pots, I have cosmos. I know that the plant, maybe not in general, but certainly the variety that I got, can be quite large. So I wanted to give them a little larger pot. I only put one in each, so that hopefully they are, fairly large and hardy by the time they go out into the ground. I am not planning on putting them in the raised beds. I'm planning on just putting them in the soil, and I don't know how well that is going to go. So I would prefer it if they are as sort of big and happy as possible before they go out. And hopefully, by putting them in a larger container, they can really have some time to grow before that occurs. We'll see. I think I'm going to put them kind of down the edges, the sides of the yard. There is space on either side. One side has a little set of steps, and the other side does not. So, particularly the side without any little steps, I think would be a good place for those. They'll have space to kind of be bushy and do their thing while also being able to attract pollinators and be beautiful. So in this pot, I was going to put, I think, another cosmos, but I decided instead to put several basil. So this is a much larger container, and I ended up putting three purple basil. I very carefully separated them, and I did three of the lemon basil as well. The reason I am planting so much basil is I do plan on making tomato sauces, like a marinara sauce or just tomato sauce or whatever out of all of those tomatoes. And I'm going to need basil in order to do that. So, since I plan on cooking with it in some degree of quantity, I really wanted to make sure I had it available. Now, if I end up with way more basil than I could ever use in the sauce preparations, that's totally fine. I can just store it in the freezer, or I can dehydrate it in my oven in order to, put it in a jar on the shelf for later use. But that's what my thinking is, anyway, in terms of having so many little basil plants. Just how difficult it was to separate those. But time well spent, right? Right? I am really looking forward to seeing if these survive. I do not know how it's going to go, but we hope. And that's all you can do sometimes. There we go. Just getting the last one in there. I had to kind of make up the spacing as I went because I think comfortably I could have fit two in that pot if that was their forever home, not six. But I did try to give them all a little space. So this pot again has a cosmos in it, just one. And then I believe all the rest of these little containers are zinnia, just one per. With a similar thought being, I'll put them out as soon as they are big enough to withstand competition from the grasses on the hill and still thrive. Or until they exceed the capacity of these little cups, whichever comes first.
and clean up our mess, and then I'll be back to water them. I'm also going to put these sage and basil out in wherever spaces I can find them in the garden.
And I did intend to sort of keep the camera rolling while I did this, but because I live in the South and this was midday, my phone overheated and it shut off. So this is sort of where we'll leave it for today. But thank you guys for coming along. I know this was a lengthier little exercise, but hope you enjoyed. If you have any tips for me, please leave them in the comments below. And until next time, toodaloo.